The December rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse, blurring the Seattle skyline into impressionistic streaks of light. Sophia Morales worked methodically through her cleaning routine, her movements efficient after 3 months of working for Alexander Grant. At 28, she'd cleaned enough wealthy homes to recognize loneliness when she saw it, and Alexander's penthouse reeked of it despite its pristine luxury. The space was enormous, 4,000 square feet of minimalist design, all sharp angles and expensive materials that felt more like a museum than a home. Alexander had bought it 2 years ago after selling his data security startup for an obscene amount of money. Sophia knew this from the glossy magazine profile she'd found in his recycling, an article that painted him as a brilliant but reclusive tech genius who'd walked away from his company at 36 to pursue personal interests. Those personal interests, as far as Sophia could tell, consisted of staring out windows and working alone in his home office for 16 hours a day. She moved into the kitchen, wiping down marble countertops that were already spotless. Alexander barely cooked. Most mornings she found evidence of his existence only in a single coffee cup and the faint impression on his leather office chair. He was a ghost haunting his own expensive life. "Ms. Morales." Alexander's voice made her jump. He stood in the doorway, tall and lean in dark jeans and a gray sweater. His brown hair was perpetually disheveled, and his green eyes held an intensity that suggested he saw too much and felt too little. "You're still here. I thought you left at 5. "Just finishing up, Mr. Grant." Sophia gestured to her supplies. "I'll be out of your way in 10 minutes. "You're not in my way." He moved to the espresso machine, his movements precise and controlled. "Coffee?" It was the first time in 3 months he'd offered her anything. Usually he barely acknowledged her presence beyond polite nods and the checks that appeared on her phone every Friday. "No, thank you. I need to catch the bus." "It's Christmas Eve," Alexander observed, as if just remembering. "You're working on Christmas Eve. Someone's got to." Sophia smiled slightly. "Besides, the holiday rate helps. I'm sending money home to my family in Oaxaca." Alexander made his espresso, his back to her, but Sophia sensed a tension in his stillness. "Your family isn't here?" "My parents died when I was 16. Car accident." The words came easier now, softened by years of repetition. "My older sister Rosa raised me and my 2 younger brothers. She's married now with kids of her own. I help when I can." "I'm sorry about your parents." Alexander turned, genuine sympathy in his expression. "Mine died in a plane crash when I was 17. Private jet went down over the Rockies." The shared tragedy hung between them, an unexpected connection. Sophia had cleaned for dozens of wealthy clients over the past 5 years, and most treated her like furniture. Alexander had always been polite but distant, maintaining careful boundaries. This was the longest conversation they'd ever had. "I should go," Sophia said, gathering her supplies. "Have a good Christmas, Mr. Grant." She made it to the door before impulse overrode caution. Sophia turned back to find Alexander standing alone in his enormous kitchen, staring at his espresso like it held answers to questions he hadn't asked. "Mr. Grant?" Her voice came out uncertain. "I know this is probably inappropriate, but I'm making dinner tomorrow. Just me at my apartment. Nothing fancy, but if you'd like company for Christmas, you're welcome to join me." The silence stretched so long Sophia wished she could take the words back. What was she thinking? Inviting her millionaire employer to her tiny studio apartment in Capitol Hill? He probably had parties to attend, plans with other wealthy friends, better options than pity dinner with his housekeeper. But when Alexander finally looked at her, his expression was complex, surprised, confused, and underneath it all, something that looked almost like hope. "Why would you do that?" he asked quietly. "Invite me, I mean. You barely know me." Sophia considered lying, deflecting, but something about his genuine confusion made her answer honestly. Because I've worked here for 3 months, and I've never seen you have a single visitor. I've never heard you laugh or seen you do anything except work and stare out windows. And my mother always said nobody should be alone on Christmas, especially when you have the power to change that. Alexander set down his cup with careful precision. What time? 6 o'clock. It's just chicken and rice, nothing special. What's your address? Sophia wrote it on the back of a receipt, her hands trembling slightly. Unit 412. The building looks rough, but it's safe. And Mr. Grant? You don't have to bring anything. Just yourself. She left before he could change his mind, or she could second-guess herself into oblivion. On the bus ride home through rain-slicked streets, Sophia alternated between excitement and terror. Had she really just invited Alexander Grant to her apartment? The man had probably never been to Capitol Hill, let alone a studio apartment that cost less than his monthly shoe budget. He wouldn't come. Men like Alexander Grant didn't slum it with their housekeepers. He'd been polite in the moment, but tomorrow he'd send a text with some excuse, and Monday would be awkward when she showed up for work. Sophia spent Christmas morning preparing anyway, cooking her mother's recipe for pollo and mole, making fresh tortillas by hand, arranging the tiny space to feel welcoming rather than cramped. Her studio was only 400 square feet, but she'd made it home with plants on the windowsill, family photos on the walls, a worn but comfortable armchair by the window. It was nothing like Alexander's sterile luxury, but it was hers. At 5:30, Sophia changed into a simple red dress, nervous energy making her hands unsteady. At 5:45, she checked her phone for cancellation texts that never came. At 5:58, she told herself to stop being ridiculous. At exactly 6 o'clock, there was a knock on her door. Sophia opened it to find Alexander Grant standing in the hallway holding a bottle of wine that probably cost more than her monthly rent. He'd changed into dark slacks and a blue button-down, his hair still adorably messy, his expression uncertain in a way that made him look younger and more vulnerable. "I hope I'm not late," he said. "I wasn't sure about parking, and I walked around the block twice because I was nervous." The admission of nervousness broke something open in Sophia's chest. This wasn't millionaire Alexander Grant. This was just a lonely man who'd accepted an invitation to dinner. "You're perfectly on time," Sophia said, stepping aside. "Come in." Alexander entered her small space, his eyes taking in every detail, the worn furniture, the family photos, the tiny kitchen where something wonderful was cooking. Instead of disdain or condescension, his expression was something close to wonder. "It smells incredible," he said softly. "Your place, it feels alive." Sophia understood what he meant. His penthouse was beautiful but sterile, designed for display rather than living. Her apartment was small and imperfect, but every item had meaning, every space reflected her personality. "Wine?" Alexander held up the bottle awkwardly. "I don't have fancy glasses," Sophia warned. "Just regular ones from Target." "Perfect." His smile transformed his face, making him look almost boyish. "I'm tired of fancy." They settled at her small table, barely big enough for two, and Sophia served dinner. The first few minutes were awkward, both of them hyper-aware of the strangeness of the situation. But as they ate, conversation began flowing more naturally. "This is amazing," Alexander said after his first bite. "What is this sauce?" "Mole Negro. My mother's recipe. She used to say food tastes better when you cook it with love instead of obligation. My mother said something similar." Alexander's expression grew distant. "She loved cooking even though we had staff. My father thought it was beneath her, but she'd send them away and make Sunday dinners herself. After she died, the house felt so empty. Food became just fuel." Sophia poured him more wine, noting how his shoulders gradually relaxed, how his eyes grew less guarded. "What do you do all day?" she asked. "I know you work, but you sold your company." What are you working on? That's complicated. Alexander set down his fork. I'm trying to develop security software for nonprofits and small organizations who can't afford enterprise solutions. Everything is proprietary and expensive, and the people who need protection most, activists, journalists in dangerous countries, human rights workers, can't access it. That's incredible, Sophia said, genuinely impressed. Why don't you talk about that in interviews? Because people assume when you have money, everything you do is about making more money. They can't conceptualize doing something because it matters. His voice held bitterness. Also because I've become terrible at talking to people. I work alone, live alone, exist alone. You're the first person I've had an actual conversation with in months. That's sad, Sophia said gently. It is, Alexander agreed. But I don't know how to change it. I'm not good at friendships anymore. People either want something from me or they're intimidated by the money. I can't tell the difference between genuine interest and opportunism. Sophia studied him across the table, this brilliant, lonely man who'd built walls so high he'd trapped himself inside them. I don't want anything from you, she said honestly. Except maybe for you to enjoy dinner and not spend Christmas alone. Alexander held her gaze, something shifting in his expression. Why are you alone? A woman like you, kind, beautiful, obviously close to her family, why aren't you with them? Sophia felt heat rise to her cheeks at the casual compliment. Can't afford to fly to Mexico right now. I'm saving for my own cleaning business. Someday I want to hire other immigrant women, pay them fairly, give them benefits. But that takes capital. That's ambitious, Alexander said with respect. How long have you been cleaning? 5 years, since I was 23. Came to Seattle for college, but couldn't afford to finish. Started cleaning to pay bills, discovered I was good at it. Now I have regular clients, but I want to build something bigger. Something that helps people like me. They talked through dinner and dessert, tres leches cake Sophia had made that morning. Alexander told her about growing up with money but feeling invisible, about his relationship with his parents that was complicated by expectations and tragedy. Sophia shared stories about her childhood in Oaxaca, about immigrating at 16 and struggling to learn English, about the sister who'd sacrificed everything to keep their family together. You're remarkable, Alexander said as they moved to her small couch with coffee. I've met CEOs and senators and people with prestigious degrees, and none of them have half your strength or clarity about what matters. That's kind of you, Sophia said, but I'm just a housekeeper trying to survive. You're so much more than that. Alexander's voice was intense. You see that, right? Your job doesn't define you. What defines you is your kindness, your ambition, your willingness to invite a stranger to dinner because you thought he might be lonely. Sophia looked at him, really looked, and saw past the wealth and walls to the man underneath. He was watching her with an expression that made her pulse quicken, and she realized with a start that the air between them had changed, charged with possibility. Thank you for coming tonight, she said softly. For taking a chance on something weird and unexpected. Thank you for inviting me, Alexander replied. For reminding me what it feels like to connect with another human being. I haven't felt this comfortable with anyone in years. They sat there on her small couch as Christmas music played softly from her phone, Seattle rain pattering against the window, and Sophia knew something fundamental had shifted between them. Alexander wasn't just her employer anymore. He was a man she was beginning to care about, and from the way he was looking at her, the feeling might be mutual. When he left just before midnight, he hesitated in her doorway. Can I see you again? Not for work. Just us, talking like this? I'd like that, Sophia whispered. Alexander's smile was brilliant. Good. Because I think this might be the best Christmas I've had in 20 years. As Sophia closed the door behind him, her heart racing with possibility and terror in equal measure, she wondered if a simple dinner invitation might have just changed both their lives forever. The week after Christmas passed in a haze of nervous anticipation. Alexander texted Sophia daily, simple messages at first, then longer conversations about everything from their favorite books to childhood memories. When she arrived for her regular Friday shift, he was waiting with coffee and an awkward proposition. "I need to talk to you about our arrangement," Alexander said, his fingers drumming nervously on the counter. "Not because I'm unhappy, but because things have changed between us." Sophia's stomach dropped. She'd known this was coming, the inevitable conversation where he'd gently explain why they couldn't be friends anymore, why professional boundaries needed to be maintained. "I understand," she started, but Alexander cut her off. "I don't think you do. Sophia, I can't keep employing you as my housekeeper while also wanting to spend time with you as a person. It feels wrong, like I'm in a position of power over you. So I have a proposal." He pulled out a folder, opening it to reveal a job description. "Personal assistant position. Same hours if you want them, but focused on helping me with the nonprofit security project. Better pay, health insurance, and you'd be working with me, not for me. It's a real position, I promise, not charity." Sophia stared at the papers, torn between hope and suspicion. "Alexander, I can't accept special treatment because we're becoming friends. This isn't special treatment." His voice was earnest. "I genuinely need help. The project is getting bigger, and I'm drowning in administrative work. You're organized, efficient, and you understand what I'm trying to do. Plus, you'd be helping me build something that matters. Isn't that better than cleaning bathrooms?" "There's dignity in cleaning," Sophia said quietly. "I'm not ashamed of what I do. I know that. I'm not asking you to be ashamed. I'm offering you an opportunity to do something different. But if you'd rather or keep our current arrangement, I'll respect that and we'll figure out the friendship part separately." Sophia studied the job description. The salary was fair, not inflated, but substantially more than she made cleaning. The work sounded interesting, meaningful. And the health insurance alone would be life-changing. "One condition," she said finally. "If I take this, our friendship exists completely outside of work. No blurred lines, no confusion about whether I'm spending time with you because I like you or because you're my boss." Alexander's smile was relieved and warm. "Deal. So you'll take it?" "I'll try it," Sophia amended. 1-month trial. If it doesn't work, I go back to cleaning and we pretend this conversation never happened." They shook hands formally, then both laughed at the absurdity of the gesture given they'd spent Christmas together. But something had shifted. They'd acknowledged that their relationship was evolving into something neither could quite name yet. 2 weeks into Sophia's new position, she met Alexander's neighbor and discovered just how complicated things might become. Zira was a Nexarian musician who lived in the penthouse across the hall, her purple skin and silver eyes marking her as one of the alien species who'd integrated into Earth society over the past decade. "You're Sophia," Zira said when they met in the hallway, her melodic voice curious. "Alexander has mentioned you. A lot." "He has?" Sophia tried not to sound too pleased. Zira's knowing smile suggested she heard it anyway. "Nexarians can sense emotional frequencies. Yours and Alexander's harmonize in ways that are rare. Most humans spend lifetimes searching for that kind of resonance." "We're just friends," Sophia said automatically. "Are you?" Zira tilted her head. "Because your frequency spikes when you talk about him. And his stabilizes when he's near you. That's not friendship. That's something deeper forming, whether you're ready to acknowledge it or not." The observation stayed with Sophia as she worked alongside Alexander over the following weeks. They fell into an easy rhythm. She managed communications and logistics while he coded, both of them working in companionable silence broken by conversation about everything from philosophy to bad movies. But Zira was right. The attraction was undeniable and growing stronger. Sophia noticed the way Alexander's eyes lingered on her when he thought she wasn't looking. She caught herself watching his hands as he worked, remembering how they'd felt when they'd accidentally brushed reaching for the same coffee cup. One evening, working late on a grant proposal, Alexander leaned over to see her screen. His proximity sent electricity through Sophia's body. She turned her head and found his face inches from hers, his green eyes dark with something that wasn't just professional interest. "Sophia," he said quietly, not moving away. "I need to tell you something." Before he could continue, his phone rang, his lawyer, dealing with a crisis that required immediate attention. The moment broke, and Alexander stepped away with an apologetic look that held promise of unfinished business, but the next day, everything changed. Sophia arrived at work to find the building lobby swarming with paparazzi. Someone had leaked a photo of her and Alexander having coffee at a nearby cafe, and speculation was running wild. "Mystery Woman in Tech Millionaire's Life," read one headline. "Alexander Grant's New Romance," suggested another. The articles dug into Sophia's background, her immigration status, her cleaning history, her lack of education. The comments were worse, calling her a gold digger, an opportunist, questioning what a maid was doing with someone like Alexander. Sophia's phone exploded with messages from former clients asking if the rumors were true, from acquaintances wanting details, from her sister Rosa frantically calling from Mexico asking what was happening. She found Alexander in his office, pacing and furious, his phone pressed to his ear as he barked orders at his publicist. When he saw her, he ended the call immediately. "Sophia, I'm so sorry. I don't know how they got that photo or who leaked it, but I'm handling it. My team is issuing a statement, saying what?" Sophia's voice was sharper than intended. "That I'm just your employee? That there's nothing between us? Because Alexander, I need to know, what are we doing here?" The question hung between them, heavy with weeks of unspoken tension. Alexander crossed the room, stopping just short of touching her. "I don't know what we're doing," he admitted. "I just know that I think about you constantly. That you're the first person I want to talk to when something happens. That I haven't felt this connected to another human being in my entire life. And it terrifies me because the world is going to judge us, going to question your motives, and I don't know how to protect you from that." "I don't need protection," Sophia said. "I need honesty. Do you have feelings for me? Real feelings, not just gratitude or loneliness." "Yes." The word was simple, certain. "God, yes. I'm falling for you, Sophia. Have been since Christmas dinner. Maybe even before, when I'd watch you work and wonder what you were thinking, why you seemed so at peace when I felt so lost." Sophia felt tears threatening. "I'm falling for you too. But Alexander, this isn't going to be simple. People are already calling me a gold digger, and we haven't even kissed yet. Imagine what they'll say if we actually get together. Let them say whatever they want." Alexander finally closed the distance between them, his hands coming up to cup her face with devastating tenderness. "I've spent 15 years caring what people think, building walls to keep everyone out. You walked through those walls like they didn't exist, and I'm not letting you go because of gossip and judgment. This could hurt your business, your reputation. You're more important." His thumb brushed her cheekbone. "I know it's fast and I know it's complicated, but Sophia, you make me want to be brave enough to actually live instead of just exist. Please tell me I'm not alone in this." "You're not alone," Sophia whispered. "But I'm scared." "Me too," Alexander admitted. "But maybe we can be scared together." When he kissed her, finally bridging the gap they'd been dancing around for weeks, Sophia felt like she was falling and flying simultaneously. His lips were soft but firm, questioning at first then deepening as she kissed him back. Her hands found his hair while his arm wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer until no space remained between them. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Alexander rested his forehead against hers. I need you to know, this isn't about having a relationship in secret. If we do this, I'm going to defend you publicly. I'm going to make sure everyone knows you're not some gold digger but an incredible woman I'm lucky to know. Alexander. But I need you to decide if you're ready for that scrutiny. Because once we go public, there's no taking it back. The media will dig into every aspect of your life. Some of my associates will judge you. It's going to be hard. Sophia thought about her mother's advice: when you find something real, you fight for it. I'm ready, she said. Let's do this right. They spent the rest of the evening crafting a statement together, honest and simple, acknowledging their relationship without apologizing for it. Alexander's publicist hated it, calling it unnecessarily provocative, but he overruled her. The statement went live that night. I'm fortunate to be in a relationship with Sophia Morales, an exceptional woman who has taught me more about integrity and kindness than anyone I've ever met. We will not be commenting further on our private life. The response was immediate and polarized. Some people praised Alexander's directness. Others doubled down on criticism, questioning Sophia's motives. But there was no going back now. They were public, committed, and facing the storm together.